Hello beautiful people, I'm RaishPhoenix, and in today's video we're going to be doing a chit chat. Now I do want to start off by saying that if you guys hear any background noise, girl, I waited until the house was quiet, and then the second I start filming, that's when the noise starts again, and I'm like, girl, it's late. I want to go to bed. Why y'all making noise now? Anyway, today's video I want to talk about my break that I took from social media. I stopped using it for 2 months. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into why I did it, what happened when I did it. To have more context, I usually have Twitter and Instagram open on desktop, close those tabs, my iPad and on my phone, completely removed the apps from the home screen. So I removed Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I didn't want it anywhere on my home screen because I know that out of convenience I'm gonna click on it. The only time I went on Instagram was to reply to a DM, but even then I was not looking at notifications. I clicked like my life depended on it on the DM button to make sure that I went straight there, and the app didn't give me a chance to even look at like the notifications because of how quickly I clicked on that button. For my break, my focus was to just stay off of social media, not check any notifications, and to just focus on myself. But I still wanted to work. I still wanted to get stuff done. I'm a full-time content creator, so I'm making content, and I still wanted to be able to get those things done while simultaneously not really being on social media. There were times during the first month of the break that I took where I recorded a few TikToks, but even then I went straight to my profile and I clicked on the music that I needed and I just started recording. Another case where I was avoiding notifications. I didn't want to see numbers. I didn't want to see anything pertaining to any type of status and stuff like that. I just wanted to focus and prioritize my mental health at that time. The only social media that I still used was YouTube, because I do have a separate YouTube from this one that I upload on, where it's just like, that's my chill YouTube. I'm watching art videos, I'm watching stuff that's better for my mental health. Which brings me to my point of why did I take a break in the first place? So I kind of started to touch on that a little bit, but it was for my mental health. I started feeling extremely sad and lonely, and my insecurities were at an all-time high. What happened was that I had developed a habit of checking social media whenever I started to feel those things. The reason why that's bad is because I'm putting my mental health basically in the hands of something that is unpredictable and not me. It was an unreliable and temporary fix. I can look at some type of content that I find funny or maybe I'm inspired by, but at the end of the day, I'm not always going to find those things when I go on social media. I can scroll and hope that I do. It's not guaranteed. And I definitely got to a point where when I had free time, that's what I did. I just cycled through social media. It's like I'd go to Instagram, scroll, over it. Go to Twitter, scroll, over it. Go to TikTok, scroll, over it. All right, lay in bed for a couple minutes. Alright, and then do it again. I didn't like that in the moment of not knowing what to do with my time. That was what I decided to do. I was definitely pouring way too much of my focus externally when I should have been focusing internally and really looking at why I'm feeling these things that I am. When I got fed up with this habit, I started to kind of reflect on, okay, when were the moments where I didn't feel like this? When did I feel better? And I realized that those were the moments where I wasn't focused on being online. As a full-time content creator during a pandemic, experiencing quarantine, I don't know, it's like I know everybody else had that moment probably within the first year or two of the pandemic. Now I'm like blanking on how long we've been in this. Oh my god. I know that a lot of people kind of experienced that earlier on. From what I've heard, a lot of people had already spoken on how quarantine had affected them and how it was harder for them to kind of just be home, to not have the ability to go places as much as they were able to in the past, and how that was affecting their mental health. And it's like, for me, I'm an introvert and I am a homebody. I was flourishing. Like I appreciated my boundaries being respected, and it was just like great for me. But then within these last couple of months, something just hit. I'm starting to realize all these things that I used to do before the pandemic that meant a lot to me, that involved leaving the house, casually going for walks, going to conventions, stuff like that. It's one thing to acknowledge that you can't do that in the same capacity that you used to before, or that I was able to before, but to feel the emotion of what it was like, how good it felt, and then to also simultaneously at that same moment acknowledge you can't have this, like that is what really was starting to get to me. I had to take the time to kind of relearn what does the safest capacity of me living my life look like right now, because I had definitely switched to an observant mode. I think that all of us to a degree had switched to an observant mode in the beginning of the pandemic because we didn't know what was going on. We had to wait for answers, just realizing, how far the virus had spread. I got comfortable being in observant mode because, like I said, I'm an introvert, I'm a homebody, I'm already a very observant person. Even social media became the safest way for me to interact with others and to build new friendships during a time like this. Of course, as time went on and as the pandemic and quarantine continued, I became more and more reliant on online spaces to interact with others safely from home. I started watching Twitch more and being present in streams, being present in online spaces, being supportive towards people and content creators who I admire and care about, or I value just like who they are as a person. I became like a sponge, and when you absorb so much, it's hard to absorb what you need. It's harder to be like, okay, let me hold space for myself. Let me hold space for what matters to me. If there's one thing I notice in life in terms of just like when my mental health isn't doing the best and when it feels like it's dwindling, it's usually when I'm more focused on external things than I am focused on internal things, and that I'm putting more energy into others than I am to myself. If I'm pouring 60% into other people, I'm pouring 40% in myself. When that number of what I'm giving to others gets higher than what I'm giving to myself, that's when I start feeling like what I said, like I started feeling sad and lonely and insecure. I don't exactly know where those emotions are coming from, so it gets harder to kind of address them or to alleviate what it is that I'm feeling, because it's not directly tied to a particular thing that happened. It's not like, oh, this thing happened, now I'm sad, or this thing happened, now I'm insecure. It's just those emotions just build and build over time to the point that I'm just like, okay, something's not right. I had to pull back from everything to look at what it is that I have not in the best state and how I can fix that. One of the main goals in taking my break was to build healthy habits. I've heard or read somewhere that it takes about a month to build a healthy habit, and I can't exactly remember how long it takes to get rid of an unhealthy one, but I knew that I would need at least a month to start building healthy habits because, as I said, I was reliant on social media and checking it consistently, so I wanted to see if I take it away completely, what am I going to fill that time with? The first thing that became apparent to me when I started my break was that it felt like the static was gone. I realized that being on social media, I'm definitely exposed to a lot of ideas. It's one of those things where it's just like, that there's just a certain dynamic that works on online spaces that you don't see anywhere else, because there's just a level of getting so much information within seconds while also simultaneously getting a lot of opinions followed by that information before you even have a chance to finish reading. It's overwhelming. I think that just from pulling back from being exposed to something like that, because for me, I'm on Twitter a lot. That's pretty much where that dynamic I definitely feel is at a high. Just not using a platform like that, I realized that it's like, wow, like this is interesting to kind of be able to think for myself, because it's one of those things where it's like, it's really going to depend on the person. I feel like there are some platforms where it's just like people are great on this platform when it comes to like their mental health is great, but then when they go on another platform, their mental health isn't that bad. And I know it's definitely going to be to each his own when it comes to stuff like that. But for me in particular, I feel like one of my biggest struggles in life has always been just being able to 100% fully be me. I'm so selfless and considerate of others that I do times fall into a habit of either minimizing myself or altering myself to more palatable version. It's like I feel like I'll turn down certain aspects to meet what I anticipate to be the comfort zone of someone else. Sometimes being exposed to so many opinions and stuff like that on social media, it's like I start questioning myself. Hold on, is this a bias that I need to check of myself? Like, am I ignorant in this particular thing? I'm always willing to learn and educate myself, which is great, but you definitely, like, I definitely don't want to fall into a point where I'm now changing myself to meet the opinions of others. Being off of social media gave me a moment to kind of be like, okay, like, this is what I think, this is what I don't think. For example, during the time I took my break, it was kind of like in the beginning of when Kehlani's CD just came out, but then also it was while Kendrick dropped his new album. It was kind of refreshing to experience music again. First of all, it's refreshing to get new music. I love music. I'm just deeply connected to music and just the way that I create. Like, as an artist, if I put on a really good song, I can draw for a very long time and I'm good. It was nice to kind of just experience things without being on social media, to not have opinions, whether they're with or against your opinion on a particular thing of, oh, I like this song, I don't like that song, you know, stuff like that. Simple things, like if a movie comes out, if a song comes out, it's nice to kind of just be like, this thing was released, I had enough time to watch it on my own time or listen to it on my own time, and I can form my own opinion before someone's telling me, this is the best song, this is the one you need to listen to. It's like, whoa, I just got out of work, I just want to chill, and then I'll get to the album when I can. There was a time where I also had to leave the house for like 2 to 3 weeks for a certain amount of days out of those weeks to take care of something, which forced me to get out of the house. I was really grateful for that moment because it forced me to build healthy habits. I had to leave for days in a row, so I had to make sure that I was going to bed on time, I was eating consistently, so I was strong enough to be able to do what I'm doing. I needed that. You know, like I said, I had fallen into a point where I kind of just didn't know what life looked like for me with quarantine. Here's this thing that required me to show up, so I had to show up as my best self so that I would be strong enough to be able to do what I needed to do, which I had to build these healthy habits. And out of those healthy habits, I was just like, okay, like, now I'm rediscovering what I'm capable of. Now I'm rediscovering I do have the strength to do this. I do have the discipline to be able to make sure that I'm making food ahead of time, to make sure that I am eating at a certain time, to make sure that I'm going to bed at a certain time. These were habits where I feel like I've gotten quite passive with. I don't want to discredit how hard I work, because I do work very hard and I do put a lot of effort and time into what I do, but I definitely feel like there was room for me to get better at the way that I do it, to be more realistic with what I can do within a certain amount of time. And it kind of took something like what I had to take care of last month to show me what I'm capable of when it comes to being more disciplined in my daily habits, to be able to commit to what I have planned for the day. And there was definitely a level of rediscovering independence. Like, what does independence look like for me? Because where I went, there was also a park there where I was able to just sit at the park and look at people walking by, and they're walking their dogs. Their dogs were so cute. And it's like, I just loved being able to be outside. That moment helped me reconnect with what matters to me. I love cosplay, I love makeup, I love art. All those things that I do to some degree contribute to the level of peace that I feel. I realized that from being at that park, peace means a lot to me. At the core of everything that I'm doing, that's what matters to me. And that moment made me realize that if I can just be disciplined and if I can be consistent in what I'm doing, then I'll be able to give myself that. I'll be able to put myself in a healthier environment for what it is that I'm trying to do in my life, to be able to nurture myself and my creative outlets. If I don't commit to being disciplined, if I don't commit to putting in the work and being consistent, Not to say that I'm not going to get anything, because I'm so grateful for the amount of things I've been able to manifest with what I've done. But I feel like there are these moments where I see and I feel how I'm not being as disciplined as I could be. Even in the beginning of this year, I knew that discipline and consistency were the two words that are very important to me, because if I'm able to get a better grasp of those things, I know that I can manifest so much more for myself. I know that I can claim much bigger blessings. Now I want to move into just speaking on the things that I realize in general, things that I'm going to actively work on moving forward. I realize that I have a habit of responding to people as soon as possible. Sometimes to a point that I prioritize how I believe they would feel getting a response from me later versus how I feel during that moment. And the issue with that is that it falls under the category of pouring more into others than I do for myself. Even just being raised in the environment where I was, it was always prioritized being accessible to others. There's always like that what if, that just dynamic of hearing an adult talk to you and saying like, what if something happened to me and I needed you? What if this or what if that? Those what ifs kind of piled up over the course of my life. I'm already empathetic and I'm already mindful of others' emotions, but it's at a point where it's just like I just need to make sure that I am prioritizing how I feel in that moment. It's not realistic for me to always respond as soon as possible, and I'm not saying that I respond within the first couple of minutes, because girl, I let some time pass. But I think that there are certain moments where it's like I start to feel bad. Like for example, I'll post a picture, and if I get a lot of comments on it, I'm just like, girl, you better respond tomorrow. Don't let a week pass, like, respond tomorrow. And it's like I have to put more effort into not responding than responding, because if I respond soon, that may be great for the other people who are getting responses, but it's just like you never know what I'm going through at that moment, and it's just not realistic for me to respond as soon as possible. It's not. Like, okay, I need to be making sure I'm monitoring how soon I respond. You know what it is? When I really think about it, if the moment I respond, I'm already thinking, I can't do this right now, I don't want to do this right now because I'm thinking about something else, that's not a good time to respond. There have been too many moments where in the back of my head I was already thinking, I just want to lay down. I just want to watch this thing real quick. I just want to get something to eat real quick. And instead of doing that, committing to that, my mind goes, all right, but just get this done and over with, and then you can have that. Why am I doing that to myself? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to put myself in a state where it's like, okay, just get this one thing done and then you can have what you need. Nah, what I need is what I need, and I need it now. That response can wait. I'll get to it when I can. Being a content creator at this early stage in my career, I definitely have more time than, let's say, somebody who works for a particular company and has specific responsibilities that they have to meet because of that, which I'm realizing I need to be more mindful of the fact that there are moments where I can give more time than maybe I am able to receive from somebody who works for a particular company that requires them to be working during a certain time. I think this just falls under the category of, in the past, like I know I've spoken about this in previous videos, how there are certain commitments that I have to make. Even just going over the discipline and consistency that I spoke on needing to commit to earlier on in this video, there are moments where I was aware of how that affected how present I was able to be, like pre-pandemic, pre-quarantine, how present I was able to be in my other friendships, or how present I wanted to be, if at all. Like there were just certain things I couldn't commit to. Like I couldn't chill every day anymore. I couldn't text consistently anymore every day. That's specifically what I'm speaking on when I speak on the fact of like how present I couldn't be. I have been on the side of looking at that from the perspective of what I wasn't able to do anymore within a friendship. But now it's like I'm being more mindful of what I am able to do versus what others aren't able to do because of the commitments that they have within their life. I'm starting to realize like I just need more. more time from others, more energy from others, more words from others. Sometimes I feel like I wish I can receive as much as I give. I want to believe I don't need that, I'm good. I just want to give, I just want to help, I just want to nurture. I need that same energy back. When you pour so much of that out and when you don't have it coming back in, it gets hard. It gets difficult. Those are the moments where I start to, I don't know, I guess just question like, am I expecting too much? Am I giving too much? It's like those things become blurred to me. I want to have people who can give me their full undivided attention. I don't like when like I'm talking to someone about something that's important to me, but then they're bringing up something that's not related to that subject and they're blacking out or they're looking at their phone and it's not like on an emergency type of thing. It's kind of just like I mentally clocked out from whatever it is that you're saying. It's kind of frustrating when I know that I'm capable of sitting down and talking to someone, giving them my full undivided attention and listening, like truly listening to what it is that they're saying, and to be able to take that information and apply some type of perspective that I hope would be healing to them. I put so much of like my love and my energy into others when I talk to them, when I listen to them, and when I speak and I feel that I'm with someone who I trust and I love and I care about. When I pour out what I'm feeling, it's like I feel like that same energy can't be reciprocated that I give. That hurts, you know? And I think those are the moments where I'm just trying to be more mindful of what it is that I need. And also just being mindful of those who are capable and who aren't capable. Like sometimes it's not really something to acknowledge that and then feel the need to let go of a particular relationship or friendship or whatever the case may be with someone. Like sometimes it's just, it is what it is. You kind of just gotta accept someone for who they are. But I think that accepting somebody for who they are does not mean that I have to compromise in life what I need. There have been moments where I had started to feel a negative emotion after kind of just like becoming conscious of it. My instinct was to just look at social media. Like, what am I doing? You know, my instinct was to look at social media and to kind of just like brush it off, to kind of just be like, this pisses me off. Whatever. Let's go look at whatever so-and-so posted. If I'm being passive with my emotions, I'm not processing them. I'm not allowing myself to really figure out what it is that I need to be able to allow it to pass through me, to cater to whatever it is that I may need in that moment. It's important to be mindful of that. For myself in particular, it's like I don't want to be passive of when I experience negative emotions, because I realize that I start to get kind of like annoyed. I start to question if I'm holding on to an emotion for too long. I'm able to acknowledge the emotion that I'm feeling and I understand why I'm feeling that way. I feel like because I understand why I feel that way, that should be enough for it to go away, but it's not. I just need more time for that emotion to pass through me. Because I have gotten to a passive way of looking at my emotion, I started to get annoyed with how long they would linger. I would need literally just a day to allow those emotions to pass through me, depending on the particular situation. There are certain things that, you know, in a couple minutes I don't care, in a couple hours I don't care, but there have been certain things where I had perceived it to not be that deep, so to speak, not to be something to hold on to for so long, but I realized I was annoyed about this particular thing, and then I was annoyed that I was annoyed after I've already done like the internal thought process of realizing why I'm annoyed, and like it would just pile up. And I feel like that's the best way I can explain as clearly as possible. You know, I hope that's clear. You know, I have this habit of when I don't feel that great, I just want to watch Pokemon and I want to lay in bed and that's it. I feel like there were moments where I should have just done that, but instead I was looking at social media and trying to push away this emotion. Whereas now I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch Pokemon. I'm gonna watch Inuyasha. I'm gonna watch some show that is very lighthearted and I don't have to think that much about it. I can just allow it to help me pass this emotion. Another thing that's been on my mind is if I am expecting too much from others, because I myself have not learned yet how to not give so much of myself to others. I have definitely become more conscious and aware of how my upbringing has affected my perception of things. I think that it's very difficult at times to understand or know that there are other, I guess, social dynamics would be the way of wording it, or understanding that there are other ways to express or other ways to receive, I guess, love or compassion from others when you are so constantly exposed to a particular way of that being shown. I've definitely spoken on how I feel like the people you're around kind of start to shape how you view the world, in the sense that if people treat you a certain way within your home space, it becomes extremely hard to realize that when you're outside of home, the world isn't going to treat you that way. You may get used to being treated by your home environment a certain way, and then when you see even like the smallest bit of that same energy being shown to you in external spaces outside of your home, where now you're just in the world and not around people who you've been raised with, it's very easy to get those same emotions triggered when you see similar behavior being shown to you from others, and then it becomes very hard to start to differentiate from what people will and won't do towards you. For me, in my particular situation, I've noticed that there's someone in my life who, when they don't get what they want, when they're really annoyed, they get even more annoyed, and they kind of go into what I would perceive as a very childish state, where it's just like they just yell. They're not talking assertively, they're not talking directly to someone, they're not coming to somebody face to face. It's just them yelling and complaining about this particular thing that they're annoyed about, and not having a certain person, whoever it may be that they want at that time, to be able to help them with this particular thing. It's just like they just go into a panic, and they don't really have much of the ability to try to explore different options, or to talk directly to someone, or try to go directly to someone to alleviate whatever it is that could potentially be solved. They have a difficulty going directly to the person. They have to call them, and if that person doesn't respond, then they call them again, and they just keep doing that. When I say that, I mean people that are in the same space. I don't mean like calling on the phone. I mean like we're in the same space. It's like I'm trying to see, like, am I mimicking this? Because like I'm aware of the fact that I'm annoyed by seeing this person behave this certain way. When I get emotionally triggered, when it's at a very high emotional state, I realize that, like, I just need, at that point, I just need someone to talk to. I just need someone near me who I can trust, can open up to. I start being mindful of the fact that I have more time than maybe others may have, depending on where they work and their job situation. There's literally only 2 people I can think of right now at the top of my head who I would reach out to if I really wasn't doing the greatest. Those 2 people are living their life. They have things that they have to do. They have certain commitments. So I would never look at them differently from not being able to help me during that certain moment that I'm going through something. But the thing is, I am less likely to reach out or to say anything because I am mindful of the fact that they have their own responsibilities in life. And then I start to get sad about the fact that I'm sad that I don't have what I am perceiving to be someone accessible to me to speak to or open up to about these particular things, and I psych myself out. That I do. Damn, like I guess I am kind of mimicking this behavior that I see that I don't like, not as intensely. For them, they may express that in just complaining and yelling and stuff, but for me, it's like I just get closed off. I just kind of go into my shell, and I don't want to come out. I don't want to talk to anybody. I have to make sure that I'm being mindful of what is realistic. Maybe I won't get the time or undivided attention that I want at that moment, but you know, I can still make an effort to reach out to someone who I trust. I need to do that work. I need to stop putting myself in this mentality of like, okay, like I can't reach out, or I shouldn't, because of what I'm anticipating will be the answer or response. One thing that I was really grateful to feel again after taking my break from social media was I was in touch with my faith again. There was a moment right before I took my break where I started to think back on when I had faith. And faith for me looks like knowing that no matter what, I will be able to achieve whatever it is that I'm working towards. That even though there isn't a tangible reason why I should believe a particular thing will work out, it will work out. I just know because the universe shows me signs. Sometimes it's through angel numbers, sometimes it's through the particular things that I see on a TV show, what's being said. It's like the universe just tells me, you know? Like that's the only way I can explain or elaborate on that. But before I took my break, I couldn't feel any faith. I didn't have any faith. I kind of just felt like I was just doing what I'm doing and hoping that it works out. After I had taken my break, I realized that I aligned with my faith again. It's like I started to remember these moments of things that I knew I wanted. I didn't know how it would happen. I just knew I wanted to work towards something, and I just put the time and the effort in. You know, I think that there are certain things that if it's really meant to be in our life, as long as we put that time and that effort and that consistency in, we are able to manifest those things if it's really meant to be for us. That is what I mean when I refer to faith. There are just certain things where I knew I wanted it or I needed it, and I didn't know how in the world it was going to happen. There was nothing tangibly in my presence or through directly being told to me from a person that would ever tell me that I would be able to manifest this thing for myself. Whatever that thing had been in that particular moment, through faith, through consistency, through just allowing myself to see different options. You know, that's another thing. It's like sometimes you have an idea in your head of how you want things to play out, but sometimes you're limiting yourself by looking at it that way, because when you have a very fixed idea of how you want it to work out, you're not open to other ways. And sometimes you get what you want, it's just not in the way that you expected it to be. Realigning with my faith, I was just like, wait, like I can do this. I am working towards this. I am capable. I've also been thinking about what parts of myself do I have to let go of to become the person I'm meant to be, to get and have the type of life that I deserve. This is something that I actually thought of because it's exactly what Kimani said in an interview. They were speaking on, I can't remember the particular thing, but they were just speaking on how there are parts of themselves that they had to let go of to become whatever they were meant to be. It made me kind of think, what parts of myself do I have to let go of? I think that there's just this thing where it's like we have to be accountable for our actions. There are a lot of moments that happen in our life where it's just like, I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve to be spoken to that way. I didn't deserve to be treated that particular way. I deserve better. But I think that there are certain moments where you have to kind of be mindful of, okay, what action is contributing to this particular thing that I don't like happening again? I can't control how somebody treats me, but maybe I can control how often I am in that space. Maybe I can control how much I talk to this person. Maybe I can control certain aspects of however this dynamic is playing out. And I think that those are the moments where you have to take accountability for your actions and see how it's contributing to something that you don't want or you don't like. It's like one of the things that I've noticed is that when I'm around toxic people, like there are specific toxic people, when I'm around them, I have toxic thought patterns. Like I start thinking about things that I'm annoyed about. It's not that something happened that triggered that thing that I'm annoyed about. These are things that have happened over the course of my life. I'm annoyed about this, I'm annoyed about that. When I'm around this particular person or particular people, I have these thought patterns. I don't want to think about that. I want to think about what I can do to better my life. I want to think about the things that I have to change within myself. I don't want to think about the things that people did that is annoying to me. There's always going to be something that's going to annoy me. There's always going to be something that rubbed me the wrong way. I don't want to fixate on those things. I don't want those things to be something that has more time in my thoughts than it should. There are also moments when there are particular people that I want to build a friendship with. I start being mindful of how I think that they're perceiving me. I start thinking, oh, like, did I do this thing that may have been a turnoff to them? Did I do this thing that may have pushed them away? Did I do this thing that maybe I look stupid? I look silly? I look like I don't know any better? I start thinking these things, sometimes with people that I haven't even interacted with yet. I'm like, why am I psyching myself out like this? Why am I taking so much of my time and my energy to focus on the potential. It's about what I'm perceiving as something, but it's not actuality. It's not me talking to someone directly and being like, hey, when I did this, did it make you feel that way? And they're saying yes. It's not that. It's me doing something, seeing a reaction and being like, oh, I think that was a turnoff for them. Sometimes things aren't exactly the way that we perceive them to be, regardless of if what I am perceiving is accurate or not. The people that are meant to be in your life will be in your life. The people that aren't won't be. Why sit here thinking so much about the people that aren't meant to be in your life when you could be focusing on the people that are meant to be in your life, the people that do love you, the people that will accept you for who you are and nurture you for being you? Why get caught up in those thoughts of those things when it doesn't matter? I forgot who said this quote, but somebody had said, what other people think about me is none of my business. And it's just like, it is what it is, you know? It's like, why am I sitting here thinking about the way somebody may perceive me? It doesn't matter. I think that the things that are supposed to happen will kind of come, not entirely effortlessly, but I think that it'll be a lot easier to flow into your life. And I feel like the things that are more rigid and more difficult to fit probably are meant to be. Spending so much time, you know, thinking about these things, and it's like so much time may be like a couple minutes, it may be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15, the whole damn hour, I don't know, but it's like there's no point in me fixating on these things when in the end it doesn't matter. I'd rather focus on the things that will contribute to the type of life that I want. Overall, this break from social media for 2 months has been a reset. I've definitely realigned with things that are important to me. I've been more mindful of the amount of time I invest in myself. I've created a lot of healthy habits, just been more mindful of where I'm putting my time. There's just this level of me having to constantly check myself and making sure that I'm investing more time in myself than I do to others. I just think in life, like that's probably the best way to move. Don't pour more into others than you do to yourself, because it's gonna leave you at a deficit, and when you feel it, you're gonna feel it. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Bless up, and until next time, sending out much peace, love, and enlightenment. Bye, guys.